Does it finish the simon?
No, we don't finish the simon.
No. Okay.
Okay. Sif Hey. Simon Ayin Beis Sif Hey. Mitzvah kol adam she'afal pi sheyesh lekama mesharsim. It's a mitzvah on every person, even though he has many helpers. Mikol makom yaseh gam hu ba'atzma is a davar l'chvod Shabbos kedei l'chavle. He himself also has to do something l'chvod Shabbos. In the Messina Ba'Mirayim, Rav Chisda hayim mechatef is a yorok dak dak. Rav Chisda used to cut up the vegetables. Rabbi Rav Yosef hayim mevaken eitzim. Rabbi Yosef would break. They would cut the wood. Reb Zera hayim adagas eish. Reb Zera would light the fire. Reb Nachman hayim asaken es abayis. Reb Nachman would fix the house. Umachnes, meaning he would sweep. Umachnes kelim at tzrikim l'Shabbos, and he'd bring in kelim that were necessary for Shabbos. Umafane klei hachol. He'd remove the weekday kelim. Umehem yomad kol adam. We have to learn from all these Amirayim. I'm not gonna. It's below my dignity. That is your covered. That you have the ability to be mechabed Shabbos, then that is a covered for you. The minig in the whole Klal Yisrael is to bake challah. Look, God Shabbos, let me buy him. It goes without saying that if during the week you eat non-Jewish bread, that you should be careful with Pas Yisrael. Even if during the week you ate Pas Yisrael, still, meaning even though you buy baked bread, meaning bread from a bakery, you should bake your own bread for Rosh Hashanah so that you can get that mitzvah. Adam Arisha never better Shabbos. Adam Rishon was created and he was the challah of the world, which I don't clearly understand what that means. And the woman with the chet of the Eitzadas made it get lost. She needs to fix it. So that's why they have the mitzvah of Rosh Hashanah for Shabbos. So supposed to make 3 lachamim. I never heard anybody be makbid on this. Gadol, Ubenini, Vakata. Abenin, Lusudas Alayla. The in between is for the Sudas Alayla, Vagadol Sudas Hayom, and the big one is for the during the day. Laharis Kikvoid Hayom Adif, because the day meal is more important, is better. Vakatan Lasuda Shlishis, and the small ones for Suda Shlishis. So it's an interesting thing because a lot of people what they do is they buy bakery challah, but they cook all the foods themselves. When really it should be the opposite. You should bake better to buy takeout food and bake your own challah than the opposite. So it doesn't. I don't know. It's interesting how that came down. Zayin yachin basar v'dagim yafim umatamim v'yayin meshubah k'fi yachalti. So you should prepare fish, meat, fish, other tasty dishes and good wine. Ki mitzvah lecha b'chol suda Shabbos dagim and mazikim. And it's a mitzvah. This is more else Kabbalah to eat fish at all 3 meals on Shabbos. But if it bothers you, if it damages you, you don't like it, don't eat it because Shabbos is there for einig. It's not to cause you pain. The yashlis is a sakin Shabbos. You should also sharpen the knife. That's covered Shabbos. V'yisakin es abayis, sweep the house. V'yatzias amitas, make the beds. V'yifris mapa ala shulchan, and you should spread a tablecloth on the table. Or say prusa kol yom Shabbos. You should have tablecloths on the table the entire Shabbos. Yesh medakting lifres shtei mapas, and some people are medaktic to put 2 tablecloths because if you have to remove one because it got dirty or for crumbs, the tablecloth will still be covered. That's also a pikabola. V'yisma v'biyas Shabbos, and you should be very happy when Shabbos comes along. V'yachshav b'daiti ilo yimetzapash yovilav eza adam yakar v'chashuv. If somebody chashuv would come to your house, how you'd fix the house for him. Shabbos Malkasa for sure for the queen, the Shabbos queen. Some places they make barekas or stuffed foods. Lel Shabbos zecher laman shehu munach k'may b'kufsa, because the man was wrapped in a box. Tal lamata v'tal lamala. Do on the bottom, do on the top. Yeshlutan be'erev Shabbos as a tafshilin shenasa l'Shabbos, and you should taste on erev Shabbos the tafshilin shenasa l'Shabbos, not because you're supposed to have a party, but because you're supposed to know whether the food for Shabbos is good, so you can change it around. Test. Afilo oni should be solis daras yisamas la'anigas Shabbos. Even somebody who's poor should have onik Shabbos. Yitzamtim b'chol shvua kadesh yilei mois l'chod Shabbos, and he should be cheap during the week so that he has money for covered Shabbos. The main mois yilva afilo al mashkanis l'tzarkei Shabbos. What he should do is borrow, even on a mashkan, meaning if you have to give something valuable up as a collateral, you have to do that. And don't be scared to do that. Borrow on my cheshbon, I'll pay it back. So we all think we're all big, big shots to borrow, like, yeah, we spent for shots, spent for shots. Bottom line is if we had no money left, would we um, pawn some food, pawn some of our valuables to get some money, and with the confidence that Hashem is going to pay us back? I'm not so sure. I hope never to have that in the sign. It's one thing to put on a credit card if you don't have the money. It's another thing to actually to borrow. All a person's food is decided in Rosh Hashanah chutz mitzvah Shabbos. You have to accept mitzvah Shabbos. Because if you add on to your expenses of Shabbos Yom Tov, it gets added onto your calculations. But let's say you're really, really poor. Bottom line is, it's still better than taking. Rather to make your Shabbos weekday and don't come on to handouts. Even if you're the poorest of the poor, you should at least try and get some small fish and anything similar to that. If somebody sends you something to eat on Shabbos, eat it on Shabbos. Don't leave it over for the week. All right. Okay, and test ain lasses melacha b'derech keva be'erev Shabbos and mincha katan alamal. It's a common question people ask. You're not supposed to do melacha with, meaning something that's going to be distracting on erev Shabbos from mincha katana ulamala. So that's 9.5 hours into the day. Al b'derech harai mutter, but derech harai, which it usually is mutter. Like people want to know if they could sign on contracts, if they could send emails, etc., etc. That's for sure okay. Well, tzarech Shabbos gamacha kach mutter, and if it's tzarech Shabbos, then even after 9.5 hours into the day, it's mutter. But to sew clothing for your friend b'schar is aser. But let's say you're an ani and you need to make some money in order to buy food for Shabbos. You could do it all day. Just like on Cholamayit, somebody who's poor is allowed to do work. The saparas you saw mutter kolayim to give haircuts to a yid is mutter all day. Afilu masa uman, even if it's professional haircut, afilu b'schar, even if you're going to get paid. Because a haircut is recognizable right now that it's done for Shabbos. So even though it's melacha, it's recognizable for Shabbos. And it's a big issue this coming Friday. If haircuts are mutter, not mutter, the bottom line is they are mutter, but it is better to take a haircut, I would think, Thursday night this year with Purim and Erev Shabbos, or even on Tainus Esther. Shabbos, all stores should be closed an hour before Shabbos. Fine. That we already discussed a couple of simonim ago. Yud, mitesha ismanis ulamala, from 9.5 hours into the day, mitzvah l'mnoyim l'kfaya suda. It's a mitzvah, and this is mamish negeya to this Friday, to stop yourself from eating a meal, like a set meal, like sitting down with bread. Even if you do that at, let's say, 4 o'clock during the week, you eat supper. So don't do that on Erev Shabbos. And that's a meal that you normally have during the week. You still shouldn't do it. But a meal that you don't have during the week, afilu sudas mitzvah, meaning a large suda, even if it's a sudas mitzvah, if you can make that sudas mitzvah on another day, like a bar mitzvah, etc., then also Shabbos kolayim, it's also to make that suda the entire day, even in the morning. Afilu babayka. Sudas mitzvah shizmana kavua ayam, but if it's a sudas mitzvah that fell out on that day, mila, pidyon haben, ukadaima, like Purim, then it is mutter. Right, this is this week. It's better to make the meal in the morning. Right? And don't eat as much as you normally would. Hence Naphtali, 1 row of chocolate. And avada, you should not eat an achila gasa kedeshiyarku suda Shabbos l'teyavan, that you should eat the suda Shabbos l'teyavan. So it's just important for this week to understand that for Purim, it's more important. The Hilchos Shabbos part is mistama more chashuv than the Purim part. especially when you could eat the Purim Suda in the morning and don't overdo it. So that would be the proper thing to do. Okay, we will stop over there. Everybody should have a fine night.
So you eat the Purim
Bima
Suda. I thought you eat the Purim
The
Suda after
Purim Suda
Chatzos.
counts as like Shabbos Suda, where it doesn't come out of the cheshbon, or no?
I would think so. It's a Yom Tif D'Rabbanan. I would think so. I don't have any proof to that, but I would think so. What are you saying, David?
I thought you had to eat the Yom Tov Suda like later. Like I'm saying,
No,
Purim
for this
Suda.
this Friday it should be eaten earlier.
No. But I'm saying, but like after it's the earliest time to daven mincha is what 1:30.
No, you could eat it before. You could even eat it for breakfast.
So you could start that early, like in the like after Shabbos, you could sit down and have your
100%. That's probably the best halachically to do. 100%. The reason why during the regular year they eat the Suda late is because there's somehow it came to minhag, since it's also Tesvav is for walled cities, so you stretch your Suda into Tesvav, but that's not really, there's no real source for that halachically. So earlier is definitely better. Yeah.
There's a note here. You said v'chaya chalas shalaylam.
Oh,
V'chaya chalas Adam is compared to
yeah.
challah. So it just as there's a note just as when dough is needed, a portion of it is removed from the rest and elevated to the status of challah. So too, man was elevated to serve Hashem in a manner no other being is capable of doing. Rashi, Shabbos.
No, I'm saying, but what does that have to do with challah?
Challah is elevated, so an Adam was elevated above everything else. You take a portion of the
So it
challah.
sounds like the same thing as hektish according to that.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure.
Says Rashi, Lamed Beis, Amid Aleph.
I hear.
On Shabbos.
Yeah, I hear. All right, fine. Appreciate it. All right. Zagazund, everybody. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Tomorrow night. Oh, I'm sorry. Tomorrow night, we're definitely not having